Hello there guys, Teacher Krishna here and welcome to our next class for the third unit. This is a class that is part of Behave School and 9th High School. Of course, just like you know, our subject is biology and today we're going to be working on week number 24. So let's go over our presentation for today. Remember to have your notebook with you in order to make today's summary. That is crucial, as well as the parts that it must include: the date, ending in mind, the title, summary, and of course some extra decoration that you need to add to it. Alright, today we're going to be studying topic 3.08 and it is health and genetics. The ending in mind for today is the following: explain how heredity and family history impact health. So remember that the ending in mind is very important in your summary, so make sure to write it down before you continue with the video. Alright, now let me give you a small summary of the activities that you need to complete today. Of course, as first, you need to watch this video summary in your notebook. Then you need to read topic 3.08 and complement your summary. Remember to focus mostly on the last pages of the topic so you can have an idea of what's included in there. Then review and study a little bit the topic. And lastly, take the assessment for topic 3.08. This is a compilation of the activities that you need to finish, so make sure to take them into account. So let's jump right into it. Health and genetics. How are they both related? So here we have two decisions that you can take as an adult, of course. So some people decide to be to constantly do sports, just like soccer, playing basketball, go running, etc. And some other people prefer to just stay at home and, I don't know, probably having some beers with their friends. So actually, this is extremely related to your genetics, because the decisions that you take are going to affect your health. So, of course, if you decide to do a lot of sports, such as soccer, running, and having a good lifestyle, of course, talking about genetics, your muscles are going to increase. And of course, it is more likely that your cells themselves are going to live for a longer period of time, which means that you are going to live for a longer while. But if you don't exercise, or if you have very unhealthy habits, just like drinking beer or abusing from different substances, then your cells are going to be affected and their lifespan is going to be reduced drastically. And especially if, let's say that someone in your family already has a history related to illnesses related to drinking beer, then it is most likely that if you continue drinking beer, then you are going to have the same illnesses. So your health is extremely related to the decisions that you take, as well as the information that comes from your family. So some of your characteristics are determined by your genes, and some others by the decisions you take. All right, let's continue with genetic factors and others. So sexual reproduction generates diversity, since half of the chromosomes are inherited from the mother and half from the father. Genetical disease happens when the offspring inherits alleles from one or both parents. So remember that in the process of meiosis, the DNA is divided in different sections. And of course, we are going to have resulting gametes from the meiosis process, which will be eggs and of course sperms. So when they recombine, they are going to be combining all of the genetical information from the mother and from the father. So if in case the mother or the father have certain disruptions in their DNA or something that will be abnormal, then it's most likely that the offspring is going to have them as well. All right. This disease can cause constant pain, movement disability, or more. Yeah, depending on what disease are inherited in the offspring, many different things can happen. So, for example, talking about the Down syndrome, Down syndrome is caused when there is an extra copy of genes, gene number 21. So instead of being only 2, they are 3 in total. So that causes a certain mental disability in the people with Down syndrome. And we also have infectious disease. So infectious disease are not specifically related to genetics, but they come from the environment that is around us. So first of all, we have viruses, non-living pathogens that are replicated in an organism. Hand washing and vaccination can prevent them. So which one is the most common virus that we have right now? Of course, it will be COVID-19. So COVID-19 is not an organism that is alive. They are just copies of RNA that when they enter the organism, they are going to be reproduced inside the cells, and they are going to cause malfunctioning inside the body. We have bacteria. Some are helpful while others are harmful. They can break down food for an organism or release toxins. So inside our bodies, we have bacteria, specifically in our intestinal tract. So in our intestinal tract, there are bacteria that are going to decompose the food that we eat, and of course that help our organism. But there are some other bacteria that can release toxins inside our body, and of course that can affect our health. We have protists. They infect the organism when this drinks polluted water. Protists take nutrients from the host. So we were talking about the quality of water somewhat around, but the thing is that if you drink dirty water, let's say, there are a lot of microorganisms that are going to be taking nutrients from your body, and that can affect your health as well. So we have fungi. It causes infections. They can be in the skin, nails, and even lungs. So, for example, if there is like some of these organisms in a swimming pool and you go swimming at that pool, it's possible that one of those fungi are going to, fungi are going to be living in one of your nails or even in your skin, which at the end can one more time cause an infection. We have parasites. They are usually small worms living inside an organism. They often live in the intestinal tract, where they take nutrients from the host. All right, let's continue. So the question is, how can we prevent this infectious disease? Preventing infectious disease. So there are many ways in which we can prevent them. We're going to take a look at a couple of them. So many viruses and bacteria are transmitted when coughing. So constantly wash your hands and avoid contact with those who are infected. And of course, right now in the context we are living in, it is very important that you wear a mask. So what happens with COVID-19 specifically is that it is transmitted through the saliva, and sometimes it stays in the air, or when people are coughing, it can just stay on the table, in the door, or in many different objects around you. So what happens is that if you have particles of COVID in your hands, and you touch your nose or you touch your eyes, then you are going to be infected as well. So constantly washing your hands, constantly cleaning around you, and wearing a face mask is totally going to prevent this from happening. And besides, not going outside, right? There are also sexually transmitted infections, and they require the contact of specific fluids. And these specific fluids are usually in the genitals of the people. So it is necessary that they go through sexual intercourse in order to be infected among each other. And there are certain diseases that do not cause symptoms at first, but cause major complications later on. So, and of course, contraceptive methods might not be safe. So that's why these kind of infections are very dangerous, because probably one person is already infected, but the person does not show symptoms, even though the virus is already in his or her organism. So some people might say that if you use some contraceptive methods, then you are going to be safe from being contagious from this kind of infections. But in reality, these methods are not fully safe, because sometimes they can fail, and of course they can lead to the person getting one of these diseases. So the best recommendation is to be sexually inactive in order not to have one of these diseases. Then contaminated water. It contains several bacteria and other microorganisms that can infect the intestinal tract of animals. That's why whenever you drink dirty water, you can get an infection in your intestines. All right, we have some other general information. A healthy lifestyle, which is having constant cleaning and hygienic habits prevent sickness. And the genetical history of a person make him more vulnerable to certain disease. Like I was mentioning with alcohol. So if in your family there are people that have had a disease related to drinking alcohol, and you start drinking alcohol, then you are going to be more vulnerable to that disease. Exercise and diet. Healthy eating and exercises prevent getting obese. It can cause illnesses such as heart disease or diabetes. And also we can talk about substance abuse. So substance abuse is basically consuming too much of something. And just like you can see, we have a list right here. We have alcohol. So it slows the functions of the central nervous system, and it can lead to alcohol poisoning. So if a person drinks way too much alcohol, that person can even get to die. We have depressants. Drugs that reduce anxiety and produce sleep. So depressants are very helpful for treating some illnesses, but if people use them, then they're going to become addicted to them. We have stimulants, drugs that improve physical or mental performance temporarily. We have caffeine and cocaine. So I have known people that can't live without having a cup of coffee in the morning. Like literally, they need to have their cup of coffee every single day. So what happens is that coffee contains a lot of caffeine, and caffeine is a stimulant. So basically, drinking too much of this will make these people dependent on this substance. We have hallucinogens, and they disrupt the nervous system and change the way you sense the world. We have club drugs, and they are tasteless, colorless, and odorless. They can be added to someone's beverage. They can cause people to faint. Yeah, so unfortunately, there have been stories of people trafficking in which just a couple of friends went to a bar or to a disco to have some fun. But when they were distracted, someone from the club added a pill to their beverages. And since they are tasteless, colorless, and odorless, they weren't able to perceive them. And this most of the time happens with girls. And after a while, after the drugs start causing an effect inside their body, then they can be actually taken away from their family, and in some cases they can even be taken away from the country and taken somewhere else as something illegal, but that unfortunately has happened. All right, so just some final recommendations for you. Remember that we are talking about the decisions you take. So if you want to live longer and you want to have a better life, it's necessary that you control a little bit more your diet and that you constantly exercise. And of course, talking about the COVID, it's very necessary that you have social distancing with the rest of people, wear your face mask, and avoid going out as much as you can. So that'll be about it, guys, for today. Thank you a lot for coming to today's lesson. And I will be seeing you around during the meet session. So goodbye, everyone. I will meet you around.